They voted for socialism. They voted. Let me finish.
No, I can't let you finish. If you're going to say Maduro's going to murder us, look, I'm not a damn lie.
Wait, but
And I've got a bunch of neighbors and friends who know this. Don't do this to me. Don't mansplain. I'm a 47-year-old.
Rand Paul's appearance on The View covered everything from his book on socialism to the U.S. foreign policy. Let's break down the highlights from this interview.
Well, one of the things we learned in writing the book is a lot of people say, well, we're not for Stalin, we're not for Hitler, we're for Scandinavia. So as we were researching the book, we actually found that Bernie Sanders' form of socialism actually is unpopular and he would never get elected to anything in Denmark. In fact, the Prime Minister of Denmark, when he heard Bernie was going around saying they were socialists, says, no, we're not socialists. We have private property, a stock exchange, we have low corporate income taxes, we don't have a minimum wage.
That cleared up a common misconception. He points out that while Scandinavia does have a strong welfare system, it's not the socialist heaven Bernie Sanders often references. It's interesting how its economic structure relies heavily on market principles.
And this is where the big lie comes from. Bernie says we're going to give you all this free stuff, but we're only going to tax the rich people. In Scandinavia, they tax the working class, 25% sales tax, and an income tax starting at $60,000 is 60%. So really the difference between their country and our country is they do have more free stuff in Scandinavia, but they pay for it with massive taxes on the working class and the middle class.
That's a huge tax burden for the middle class. It's a reminder that nothing is truly free. Scandinavians pay for their benefits up front, and it's the middle class that shoulders most of it, not just the rich. Sunny Hostin also had an interesting point about how taxes play out in the U.S.
We have massive taxes here, but we don't get any free stuff. We don't have free health care. Well, our public education system is a problem. It seems like the only people that get free stuff are the very, very wealthy.
We have a different form of taxation in our country. Ours is much more progressive. So we've taken the poor off of the rolls. They don't pay income tax anymore. Most people below $50,000 don't pay any income tax. The top 1% in our country pay 40%.
That's an interesting comparison.
It says that's not true.
Well, the IRS statistics say that the top 1% in our country pay 40% of the income tax, and that those making less than $50,000.
Donald Trump doesn't pay any income tax.
I get a lot of political ads from the Republican Party. Donald Trump has tweeted this. Many have tweeted this. If you vote for Democrats, they will turn the United States into Venezuela. Do you think that's a fair statement to make?
Anna's question is a direct challenge. Linking U.S. policies to Venezuela's situation is a heavy claim. His response did not sit well with her.
If you vote for a socialist, you might get socialism.
Come on, don't do that. Maduro is not a socialist. He's a corrupt, murderous thug who is starving his people.
That's not true.
That's not true? Maduro's not a thug and a murderer who's starving his people.
Let's have a conversation here. Chavez was a socialist, and socialism was the economic system
and
of Venezuela.
It's a kleptocracy. It's not socialism.
That's a bold generalization, and she wasn't having it.
But here's the question is, they voted for socialism. They voted, let me finish.
No, I can't let you finish. If you're going to say Maduro's going to murder us, look, I'm not a damn lie.
wait, but
And I've got a bunch of neighbors and friends who know this. Don't do this to me. Don't mansplain. I'm a 47-year-old.
The conversation shifted to a heated debate over Syria and the withdrawal of American troops.
we talked about his wanting to pull troops out of Syria, and everyone saying, if we do that, we're abandoning the Kurds. That's not a good idea. And a lot of folks are saying he crossed the line with a bad decision, but you don't say that. Why?
Rand's response focused more on stopping endless wars.
One of the things I've always supported about President Trump is actually one of the things I liked about President Obama, that we said we were overextended, that the Iraq war was a mistake. I think it's one of the reasons President Obama beat Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton had supported the Iraq war. I still think the Iraq war, regime change in the Middle East, and these wars are senseless. So does President Trump. The other is a practical concern. You have 50 soldiers. They're talking about moving 50 soldiers. Who goes to war with 50 soldiers?
He is totally right. The Iraq war was a disaster. What's the point of throwing troops into a conflict without understanding whose side they are on?
If you have allies and they are working with you and fighting with you, and 24 hours somebody wakes up and says, "Oh, we're out." Right. Is that the right way to do this?
When we decide whether or not we're sending our young people into harm's way, we should obey the Constitution, which says we should declare war and put them in a war theater.
The Constitution is clear. Soldiers shouldn't be sent out just because some politician thinks it's a good idea.
Is if you ask these people, Lindsey Graham and the Cheney war and all these warmongers that want to stay at war forever, who are we going to declare war on? They don't know who. We're going to declare war on Turkey, our ally?
Should we
the
ever
Free Syrian
walk
Army,
out
ally?
in the middle? It's like walking out.
We should never be there in the first place.
That's not the question. That's all good.
It's true. There's no clear enemy in sight. If the purpose is to stay at war for its own sake, it becomes made up. Whoopi's wasn't going to let go, and she's turned the heat up even more.
For so many years, the left agreed with me.
I am
that
neither
these
left nor right. I'm just American. I want to know, should we be taking, should we be walking out on
But here's the thing is, left and right have agreed in the past that regime change doesn't work. When we got rid of Hussein, we got chaos and more terrorism. When we got rid of Gaddafi, chaos and more terrorism.
He just reminded them that regime change doesn't always make things better. Sometimes it just creates a vacuum.
Well, people is very symbolic, and that is why it kept
you tell their parents
Turkey
that.
from invading.
You tell their parents
Isn't that true?
You tell the parents of those 50 kids how great the symbolism was when a suicide bomber blows up all 50
But
kids.
didn't it
You
keep
tell them
Turkey
why-
from invading?
No,
And
I'm not.
pulling them gave
You tell
Turkey
their
the
parents.
green light.
You tell their
Isn't
parents
that
why
true?
they're there.
Sunny tries to throw in her take on Turkey's actions, but Rand's having none of it. He calls out the whole symbolism over reality angle.
I find the position of pulling out of these wars, that's a popular one, and I am there. There's a difference in having a strategy and leaving the Kurds there to die.
It's the people who want to stay forever. These are the same people.
I don't want to stay forever,
let me
but is
finish
there a
answering the
strategy?
question, okay? I let you talk, you let me talk. These are the same people. These are the same people that would still have us in Vietnam. These are the same people who always say, stay at war, stay at war, stay at war.
And he is spot on. His point is leaning towards learning from history, not repeating it.
We've been in Afghanistan for 19 years. The same people complaining about this. The Cheneys, Lindsey Graham, you know what they say about Afghanistan? It would be precipitous to leave. We've been there 19 years. There's no mission, and I'm not sending
out on
one more
people, but
kid.
there's more.
Of breaking our words to our allies, of having people who've risked their lives, who've been there for years. And what message does that send internationally to other allies if we abandon them?
He drops another truth bomb on how complicated the situation really is.
I think the only duty we owe and the only oath I take is to the Constitution. I didn't promise to take the country to war. I promised not to take the country to war. So did President Trump, by the way.
Protecting you from enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah.
And there's many of us who feel that this puts us in greater danger because of what it means vis-a-vis ISIS.
And anybody who tries to make the argument that someone in Syria is a danger to our country is really not paying attention.
He has a point. It's one of those situations where you have to dig deeper to understand the full picture.
How close is too close for Iran to be near Israel? Because this now creates a huge vacuum where Iran wants to take over Damascus, which is what they're now going to be capable of doing, and they're going to be that much closer to Israel, which is in fact one of our closest allies. Does that concern you at all?
I think that
She brings up a key point. The situation with Iran isn't just about Syria. It has serious implications for Israel, which is a major ally of the US. His response puts a whole different spin on the situation.
the whole situation is so confusing that none of us are really getting this right. Actually, Turkey doesn't want Iran to take over everything. Israel doesn't want Iran to take over everything. And in fact, Israel actually stands up for themselves all the time.
may end up being in a bigger war
Let me
because of
finish. Don't interrupt. So Iran gets
Hold
up
on.
against the
I'm
border.
sorry, Senator.
So
I am interrupting because
Iran comes up
you're
against
gonna
the
stick
border,
up.
and Israel
We'll be
pushes
right
it back.
His time on The View definitely stirred things up. What do you think about his take on Syria and foreign policy? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below.